You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Yeah, everything is perspective. It's all about how you are looking at the world in your own life. Now, I want to get into some of the work that you do, starting with the house clearing. How did you get involved with this?
Oh, man. So that was going back in my early development. Actually, it was, I hadn't even taken a mediumship class yet. And I actually had just kind of figured out that I was a medium. I was looking at taking a mediumship class with a well-known medium in my area. And another psychic, the one that I had, I was jokingly referring to her as the voodoo chick, because that was my verbiage for her at the time. And, and she did very well known for dowsing and cleansings, and she was doing a dowsing class. And if you think of dowsing, the old water witching with L rods and the old school way, and my wife and I actually decided to take a class, and it was more on her urging. But I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I think I saw it on Discovery or something, about water witching. And I was like, that would be cool. And so when I did, it focused more on homes and about the energy. And one of the things that really fascinated me, Chris, was, understanding. And I, of course, I went on to read and study beyond class because I found it fascinating. But the natural earth energies like ley lines and Hartman lines, and if anybody wants to research any of this, not only the Canadian, there's a great old school, I think even a PDF booklet out there. Can't remember if it's a Canadian Association or the American Association of Dowsers. And some of these old timers that are probably in their 80s or 90s now created this, and where they, this natural earth energy, they figured out, this grid system. We talk about, and it's nothing new. Dowsing is an ancient art of locating and shifting energies. There's well-known documented cases of the Egyptians using it. And in fact, when we talk about different natural earth energies, and maybe some of you have watched, Ancient Aliens or some of these other shows, they talk about the energy lines and where some of these key features on Earth are actually lined up. When they traced it, they put it in a computer model, and it all would focus on, and the idea is that the original pyramids would harness energy, right? It's this big generator, reactor, whatever they did, right? Stuff would grow crazy. People would be healed. And it sounds pretty fantastic. It's like they would make all these claims, right? And so it was kind of, and I found it interesting. I just found it, wow, that, if that really, if ancient civilizations could do crazy stuff, like what could we do? And so when I got into dowsing, I had a lot of cool experiences, but again, I focused on homes. And when we would figure out that, kind of get a pre-workup, so to speak, of talking with the homeowner or whomever is having the home work done, or wants the home work done, like what's going on with the home, what are the intentions? And maybe it's this, my kids aren't sleeping, or me and my husband are fighting, or my dog or cat keeps on peeing in a certain area, or we keep on replacing major appliances in the home, but it keeps on burning out. We can never seem to, the lights in a certain room or whatever always burn out. Now, one thing I'll say is, of course, any homeowner or anybody is always going to do the logical, have your wiring and all that checked, right? They're going to do that. Do the check mark of the logical, assessment. But I'll tell you a crazy story talking about energy. So we were doing, I think, a dousing the house or having shifting energy some way with dousing. And it was particularly heavy. And this is on our current house. And give everybody a little picture of it. It's more of a a 4-level split. And in the family room, there's a couple lights, whatever. And one of the things after we doused was it was like somebody was playing with the light switch. It was crazy. It just started like strobing. And then all of a sudden it went out. And then all of a sudden the light fixture was like you heard a welding arc, like bzzz, and smoke started. I was like, holy shit. And of course I made sure the light was off, got the ladder, pulled it down. And I was concerned that it was going to start a fire and so I'm ripping the light down and what happened, I can't figure out what arced. Obviously light bulbs go out all the time. But for whatever reason, something within the wiring, and we actually had an electrician afterwards come out and test it and just to make sure. But everything was fine. And this had been many years after we had moved into our home. And, there was nothing wrong with the wiring. It was energy. And it was such a big surge of energy going through the home that for whatever reason, there was it must have been a weakness or something, but it arced to the other, aspect of where it was, the light was wired, and it completely fried the ballasts in this light. And I had it ripped out. I actually clipped the wires because I was concerned. And I was like, holy crap. And when you look at it, it looks, just, it's all fried. And I was like, that was kind of freaky. So I know that when you're able to shift different negative energies within the home, crazy things happen. There are studies that have been done. Europe is really big on dowsing, and they have been doing it obviously for centuries. And there's one that really intrigues me since I'm in the Midwest and actually in North Dakota. Of course, we're surrounded by farm fields, and actually in the Red River Valley where I live, we're actually some of the most fertile farm country, arguably in the country, and some of the best soil for growing. And one of the things that intrigued me is in Europe, they were building these natural stone towers with different minerals and different things to basically douse a farm field. So you think of what goes into farming, right? So, they got to till it, and then they fertilize, they put nitrogen, and they put all these chemicals and different things because there are invasive species of weeds. There's all these, different, aphids and different bugs and things that get on our food, and they want the highest return to their bushel, right? So they make money. That's farmers farm to make money. And they want a high yield that's good crop. And in Europe, there has been studies where they erect these natural stone towers, and essentially what that is doing is it not only accentuates the energy within the field and it grows, they get a bigger yield, but it also repels their pests or whatever.
Kind of like electroculture?
Different weed. It might be. I'm not familiar with that term, but it's very, could be very similar.
I have a few friends that are doing
this.
They're taking wooden sticks, and they're attaching this copper wire to the top, putting it in the ground, in the soil, and it harnesses this energy.
Yeah. Well, it's running through the earth.